Morning.
What up, party?
Sorry. You know, the freak out of.
Oh, trust me. Something happened. Like, so our Zoom account, we have it all scheduled so that like all this stuff has just a reoccurring meeting. But
Yep.
the Thursday morning group in August somehow, and I don't know where this got kinked in the system, changed. And we had to fix something last week, and so I just have to go back in as the host. So Connie, what I'm going to do is make you the host.
Okay.
And because I actually have to jump off for a 9 o'clock, but I'm glad that we are in.
Thank you for getting me in. I appreciate it.
Yeah, totally. If sometimes, just for future reference, it's easiest to text me because I could be in a million places. You know what I mean?
That's what I figured. But
when I saw your text, I was like, my 9 o'clock meeting. I'm like, hang tight. This is more important.
Sorry.
No, you're totally fine. It's not your fault.
I don't freak out often, but when I do, it's usually like, ah!
Yeah. No. All right. Cool.
There's
Sorry,
about
guys.
8 of us joining from the other meeting.
Yeah. No. My apologies. We had a little bit of a IT issue, but Connie, I'll turn it over to you. You're the host now, and have a great productivity on a Thursday morning.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah.
All righty. A little bit of a freak out this morning. We'll let everybody kind of roll in here, as nobody could log in a couple of minutes ago. So those of you who are a little late, you're actually better off. I did put a notice on both Facebook pages that we were having technical difficulties, so thanks for hanging in there. How's everybody doing today?
Great.
Good. Yay.
Yeah, good.
So what's going on this week? Anything good?
Just got inspection amendment.
Oh, how convenient.
Exactly. And it was, I have to say, it's my listing. It's a 103-year-old house, 2 owners. And it was in good shape, but I've never had such a clean inspection. It
Really?
2 things they wanted was the toilets running on the first floor.
Woo.
And they want that fixed or replaced. And the humidifier on the furnace, they want that replaced, evaluated and replaced.
Okay.
It's
Nice.
like, yeah, considering.
So here's the big question with having an inspection on a 100-plus-year-old house. Who was the inspector?
It was a spot inspection out of Racine.
Okay. Because I actually have one inspector that I call for a house that's over 100 years old, because he knows old houses and he doesn't freak out about the, in old barns, they had the big wood stanchions in the basement versus now we have either steel or microlam. When he sees those, he says, hey, it's been around for 120 years. It's not going anywhere. Versus, some of the certain inspectors, they'll call out every little piece and crack and everything that's going on. And you know what? If you're 100 years old, you'd have a couple of cracks also.
Well, and it was the luck of the draw since I was the listing agent. So I didn't get to choose. So
Correct. Well, good for you. Good. Anybody have, anybody crazy this week? Showing listings? Elizabeth, what's going on?
I have a nightmare deal that I'm probably going to be getting out of.
Okay.
Because they're awful agents. And then I have had my 4th FHA offer to purchase rejected. And we look at 30 more houses. She's just going to say, let's try. At least this time when I called her last night to tell her that we didn't get it, she didn't swear or scream at me. So there's that. But I do have a goal coming up at the end. Yes, we are writing over, but we can't write too much over because it's FHA and she doesn't have that much cash.
Yep.
So,
it's hard. It's a crazy market. I've had the craziest week since I've been doing this, which is wild. I have 3 accepted offers. I have 2 that were rejected. I wrote another one last night. It's been absolutely wild. I went to bed at 8:30 last night, and I am not an early to bed kind of a person. I was so exhausted. My husband looked at me and he says, "Are you going to be okay?" I said, "I am spent." And it's the emotion that goes with everything, because you want everybody to get their house and we want to move them forward. You know, it's hard to step back and write the offer as well as possible. So especially with your FHA loans, any of your government loans, they're kind of particular, and sellers know that. Because they know that, they're going to take a conventional loan if we're balancing apples to apples here. Because they know that they're not going to have to paint the front porch before they sell it, because there's a little bit of chipping paint or chipping paint on the windows. That's a real big thing with FHA, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So,
I'm in a situation in the mid. It got accepted. I have a VA loan. It's accepted and everything. And they originally started with Keller Williams Mortgage. They were approved through Veterans Loans and Keller Williams. And they started with Keller Williams, but then they found out that they got a better interest rate with Veterans Loans. So they, wanted to switch back, obviously. The problem is that Keller Williams initiated the VA appraisal, and now we need to get a LIN number, and I am not getting it from the original mortgage lender. Yeah, and that's holding things up because we need it transferred, and I didn't even know what all this meant. I'm learning. So I actually had to I made a call to Keller Williams Mortgage and explain the situation. I'm kind of going past the agent to try to get this appraisal transfer, because we need to get this done.
yes. And keep in mind, the most important part about doing your deals is sticking with your deadlines. Stick with your dates and deadlines, and all of your negotiations and all of your contingencies need to be met by that date. Not the day after. You can lose your deal. Going on both sides. You can lose the deal if your negotiations and everything is not done by that date. So what we're going to do today is, Janine unfortunately is ill, so you're stuck with me today. And she has sent over a inspection report from her old house and the inspection amendment. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through that inspection. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. And if anybody is looking, actually, everybody was supposed to go to an inspection this week. How many people have? Anybody get in on an inspection this week? Okay. Laura, how did it go? Anything special that stuck out to you?
No, it was a pretty simple one. It was a condo, so it was fairly new.
Okay.
The only thing was the patio door, the seal on the patio door he was concerned with, so.
Okay. Okay, anybody else get on an inspection this week?
I had one last week, and I had two a few weeks ago. They've all been pretty clean, even my house from 1908.
Okay.
None of the mechanicals work, or the plumbing, or the electricity. But great.
So what did you learn about the inspection, Laura and Elizabeth? Anything pop up at you that you had no idea what was going on, or you said, that makes sense?
I've bought many houses in the past, so it was nothing new to me.
Okay, okay.
We had, our inspector found 8 gas leaks in the basement, so we had to turn off all the mechanicals that were down there.
Did you call We Energies right away?
Yep, and the seller was present, and he actually stuck around so they could repair those things. It was after we had left, but the furnaces were past their life expectancy, so that's that. But one of the water heaters was newer, and the other one we had to turn off anyways, and we couldn't test it because there was a gas leak because of safety. And that's one of the issues that we're running into with them actually completing work, because they say it works, but they won't give me documentation on anything. They won't sign anything. Like, we're getting out of this one.
So, yes. So when is your contingency date for your inspection?
it's well past, but they've had me writing amendments to extend the right to hear, which they've refused to sign all along the way. I've had.
Did you file?
Sorry?
Did you give them a notice of defects?
Not yet. I think it's got to be past the time. I mean, they accepted this offer on July 15th.
You may have a little problem here.
I know. This
Okay.
was my first deal ever that I was doing by myself, and it's a disaster.
Okay, if you guys ever run into anything that is questionable, please, first of all, and this isn't anything against you, Elizabeth, you've got just a wild one going here, it sounds like, and I don't even know the details, but keep in mind that everything has to be done by that date of contingency date, or you can amend that date. So when you amend that date, you push that back. If the seller does not sign the amendment to extend your contingency date, you must file a notice of defects. Okay, so your notice.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so your notice of defects has to be filed prior to that contingency date of your inspection. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And what you'll do is go into Zip Forms and you'll get a notice, and everybody knows where that little pencil is. With that little pencil, it will give you different documentation and different verbiage that you need to file a notice of defects. Okay, the verbiage is all right there. All you have to do is put in the dates and deadlines and then list everything that is wrong with that property. With that notice of defects,
Levi, come.
Which is cancellation and mutual release. But you have to file that notice of defects first.
Morning, Dan.
Does that make sense to everyone?
Hi, is this Jim? Hey, Jim, it's Jordan.
Hey.
Hi, Jim.
Hi, Jordan. How are you? So with all of that, there are just certain steps that you have to do. Elizabeth, I would take this one to Kimmy right away.
Okay.
And talk with her and see where you're at and what your repercussions are. If you have documentation, hopefully she can do something with it, but that notice of defects must be filed.
Okay.
Prior to that contingency date. But like I said, talk to her. She's okay.
Bring Andy Stillman in on this almost immediately.
Okay.
This is way back, and we still can't figure out who's who and what's going on with anything. So.
Okay, Andy is amazing. I love Andy. Yeah, if he's working with you, you just stick with him and just make sure that you guys are following everything through, because if they're not going to fix anything. And so when you came in, I'm going to back up to that inspection a little bit. When you came in, did the seller have any idea that there was gas leaks?
No, he's 85 years old. It's a duplex he's never lived in.
Oh, he's lucky somebody didn't die.
Yeah.
Just saying. Interesting. So with inspections, a lot of times we find things that nobody knew about. So when you go in, please go in with an open mind, open eyes, and open heart, because a lot of times people don't know what's going on, and maybe they're not handy and they didn't know. I have one that's going on right now. She's a widow. Her husband passed away in October, and she is not handy at all. Like, I don't even think she knows how to dial or find an electrician. She's that far removed because her husband did absolutely everything. When we were doing the inspection, I was downstairs in the office, imagine that. All of a sudden I looked at the wall in the office and the water is running down the wall on the inside of the office wall, like you know, one of those waterfalls? When you go into hotels, the water wall is behind the front desk. That's what it looked like. And my jaw dropped and my eyes got big and I said, oh my gosh. And of course the seller wasn't there. So the inspector I've used many, many times, and I called him, I said, Jeff, I said, come and look at this. And he came down and his exact words were, holy shit. Well, what happened is the upstairs sink, the piping underneath the sink was leaking, and it was running down the wall and running right down the wall in the office downstairs. Somehow that pipe came unattached under the sink. The seller had no idea. She says, Connie, I'm here all by myself. And when I'm getting ready in the morning, I get ready upstairs. She says, I don't go in the office. And by the time she got down there, it was dry. And honestly, she never goes in the office because her husband used to work in there. So the buyers had said, how would you not know that that's, she truly did not know because she never goes in that room. And when the water's running upstairs, she's usually upstairs, the only one in the house. So, you know, keep an open mind on things because people really don't know. Now, if there's duct tape wrapped around everything, they probably knew it was broken. Just saying. Duct tape, electrical tape, you know, that's usually a try and fix, so they knew what was going on with that. So what we're going to do is I am going to do a screen share, and I'm going to pull up this inspection report. I also do have 2 inspections next week. Both buyers are really cool if anybody would like to shadow. Tuesday morning at 9:30, I have one in Hartford. And then Tuesday afternoon, I have a 1:30 in Brookfield. Like I said, both buyers are really cool. So if anybody would want to shadow, you are more than welcome. We can make it a teaching thing. I know sometimes with buyers and sellers, you have to feel out their personality. These 2 are both really cool. So I'll throw that out there. You can just message me or get a hold of me and we can figure it all out. Perfect. I am going to get in a little screen share here for let me find, hang on here. Let me close a couple of these things down here so I can find it. Okay. I am not finding. Okay, technology is not my friend here today. Sorry, guys. There we go. Okay, so I have here an inspection report from wall-to-wall home inspection services. When inspection reports are put together, the front page always has a picture of the house, the inspector, any certifications that they have. Coming through, they'll give you the table of contents. The property, the realtor, a little you-rah-rah, and a description of the house. Then different inspection companies do it a little bit different. Some of them go through and break down everything that needs to be done with the house and the safety items and defects first. Others put it at the end. So on the front, we're still coming in through the description of the house. It tells you what the siding and the trim is made of. It'll tell you the roof composition, whether it is a cedar shake, where the porches, what's going on with the porches and the steps, any sort of electric and plumbing. It puts here different things about the meters and the electrical service. The central air unit, they will take and get all the numbers off of all of your appliances and mechanics. And then when we get into the meat of the inspection, There's always pictures where there's something wrong, which is really nice because you can go in and refer to it. Everybody can see this, right? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So when we come into this gutters, the inspection is completed. They're full of debris, recommend cleaning. Most inspection companies will put things in red if they need to be done. Yellow is a watch and green is good. The downspouts are dropping water into the foundation. It's recommended that the downspouts be extended. Anybody want to chime in on what's wrong with the downspouts dropping right next to the house?
There's water eroding all of the dirt around the corners.
Yep, exactly. So 80% of basement problems are because of drainage. So when you go into a house and you're looking at the basement, and as an agent, when you're taking your buyers through, of course, you have buyer agency. When you go through, make sure to look at the basement walls when you're looking at the house, even before you write the offer. If anything looks funny on the walls, some sort of a crack, any sort of water damage, the first thing you should do, don't freak out. Don't freak out your buyers. Go outside and take a look outside by that wall and see where that ground is. See where a downspout is, or maybe the hose bed. On Saturday, I think it was, went to see a house in Heartland, and they had beautiful, beautiful poured walls. It was a 1991 house, so 30 years old. The walls were spotless, poured concrete, except for one spot on the south wall, in the middle of the wall, in the middle of a paneled poured concrete piece, there was a big crack with water stains all around it. And of course, the buyer says, oh my gosh, there's foundation problems, there's foundation problems. And I said, now come on, just hang on a little bit. I said, looking at this, I said, we are going to go outside and take a look. I said, I'm not an expert, but we're going to take a look outside and see what's going on here. Do you know that we went outside and exactly at that place where that crack was a hose bib. So my guess is that at one point in time, somebody forgot that spigot on and water was running down there, or maybe they had a leaky hose and that water ran down there, and that was the problem, because the rest of the basement was spotless. So these are the things that you want to look at when you're going through houses with your showings.
Do you usually bring a flashlight when you go on a showing?
Definitely. Definitely. When I go on showings, I use a flashlight on my phone. I do have a big flashlight in my car. If we need to see something or something's kind of scary in a basement, I'll go grab that. I also keep a laser measure, or when I first started, I had a tape measure, but like my third closing, I saw this really cool laser measure. So for my third closing, I gave myself a gift. I went to Home Depot and bought a $50 laser measure, and all the guys think I'm really cool because I have one, but I got to watch them. Somebody almost took it on me one day, not on purpose, but those are things you want to have. And keep in mind that Siri, you can ask anything, like what size is a king size bed? Because people will ask if their king size bed can fit into a bedroom. So when you're doing a little bit of extra research, people like that. Any questions about this downspout? And it says right here, it's recommended to be 6 feet from the foundation.
Hey, Connie.
Yeah.
I know I had a similar situation. And it's also, people like to pile mulch up against their home, and that can cause some of those basement issues too.
Exactly. And mulch, and I don't remember, I think it's 3 inches from the siding it's supposed to be away from, because it blocks the airflow and causes mold in there. I like mulch all over the place, but it's not good for the basement. I had somebody buy a house and remove all the mulch and put in stone because they were so freaked out about mold in the siding. So keep in mind that everybody has something that is a little bit more important to them than it is to you.
Is the mulch thing concerning if it's like a stone or a brick?
No, because stone and brick, you won't get that moisture in there. But what Bethany was talking about is with your mulch, if you have mulch stacked up, Water will sit in mulch, but it will not sit in dirt.
Got it.
So you might have a pocket that's really low next to the house that really needs to be lifted a little bit higher with dirt. Does that make sense?
Yep. I was just confirming.
Moving along. Roof and wall flashing. Here's a good one. The flashing is incorrectly sealed and installed. Recommend a qualified roofing contractor for further evaluation. The flashing is nails that are popping up, blah, 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 blah. You know what? Sometimes nails do pop up. Somebody needs to get up there and bang them down. But looking on the top left picture here, there's a bunch of gapping in here. This needs to be sealed. And what they do is they do a sealant in there because the flashing is not sitting right on the shingles. This is something that you are not an expert in. You might be, I am not. Just take and see what's important to your buyers when you're going through this inspection report. I'm just gonna flip through here. The chimney looks to have a metal liner that does not have a cap on it. So looking at the picture of the chimney, see how it's real round on the top and it doesn't have a cap on it? Rain can get in there. Squirrels, chipmunks, anything can get in there if it doesn't have a cap, so they recommend having a cap on it. That's very normal to put in your inspection report or to put in your amendment. I'm just flipping through here, working through the interior. Windows, personal property blocking. Some night latches are missing. If it's something that's concerning to you, or, excuse me, not to you, to your buyer, then it can be addressed. Some wall or ceiling cracks are present in the house. Most of the time, this is normal settling. Sagging, bulging wall and ceiling materials. This could be a concern. Smoke detectors are missing. So smoke detectors and CO2 detectors, carbon monoxide are required. Some outlets have open ground, which means that the wire is not connected. Ungrounded outlets and GFCI outlets are very common to find in inspections. Bathrooms look really good. Am I flipping through too fast, you guys?
No.
I usually just look for the red stuff, I'm not gonna lie.
And then Connie, are you gonna do an amendment after
Yes,
this?
we have an amendment made for this.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull an inspection report for you guys to write an inspection amendment. Floors, they grab everything. Floor tiles are damaged. Floor joists, columns, this is looking in through the basement. Plumbing. I mean, there's a lot on here that no exposed defects, no exposed defects. The water heater. Laundry area. The faucet is being used for the washing machine. Recommended qualified licensed plumbing contractor for further evaluation. The nice thing here is that obviously this inspector did not know the code or if this was legal or not. So he's referring to a licensed plumbing contractor. I don't think I've ever seen the washing machine coming right off of the faucet, but you know, usually what happens is they have there's a line over here on the left-hand side. If you guys can see that. On the left-hand side of the picture, there's another line. Yeah. This is usually how washing machines are set up. They're not usually coming out of the faucet, but every city has a different code on what is right and what is not. So this is something, you know, to bring into a plumbing contractor. And in this case, the seller might say, or excuse me, the buyer may say, I'm a plumber, I'll fix that, don't worry about that. Or my uncle's a plumber, he'll fix that, don't worry about it. So keep in mind, it is not important what's important to you, it's what's important to the buyer when they're purchasing this house. Some people are really handy. I mean, I've had people who have not had inspections because they're contractors or they're very handy and they want that house and they're going to remodel it anyways, so they never even have an inspection because there's nothing that they can't fix. And then I've had, and I'm going to categorize here a little bit, a computer programmer. They know nothing about houses whatsoever, and every single word that that inspector said, they hung on, including, I mean, there was some stuff they wanted me to ask for, and we really had to sit down and have the conversation and say, now, here we go. We can't ask them to touch up the paint in the living room. We can't. And what about the crack in the ceiling? Well, that's a settling crack. It happens with houses all the time. A coat of paint would actually cover it up. The heating system, it tells you what heating system this is. The approximate year, my inspector usually puts down the number on the furnace. I see this one does not. No exposed defects. He looked at the gas main. Looking at the panel. There's more than one neutral wire under a bolt in the neutral bar, which is unsafe or incorrect wiring. Recommend qualified electrical contractor for further evaluation. Now keep in mind there are some things in the electrical box that are legal and are not. So recommending a qualified electrical contractor is actually your best bet. Any questions on this? I'm not an electrician. And then coming into the general summary. So this inspector puts everything at the end. The one I usually use puts everything in the beginning. So obviously gutters full of debris, is important. The downspouts, the flashing, the chimney flue, some of the windows. Looking at this crack, this was an older house though. This may be settling, it may be concerning, or it may not. Smoke detectors, a couple of outlets, and the faucet and the sub panel. So once you go through the inspection report, just what I usually do is I make notes for myself and I call the buyer and I say, please review this, and then let's set a time to go through it so we can discuss, what we found. Keep in mind, as Janine always says, keep your mouth shut. It's not your house, it's their house. We're here to negotiate for them, not tell them what to do. So when they call back, we will go through and go through that inspection report and see what's really important with them, take the notes, and then we'll write the amendment. Any questions on the inspection report? Like I said, they usually put everything in red that is important. So then what we have is the amendment to the offer to purchase. So this is an inspection amendment.
Actually, before that, I have a question. If you are the buyer's agent, when do you send the amendment to the listing agent? Not the amendment. When do you send the inspection to the listing agent?
I do not send the inspection report until I send the amendment.
Really?
I send them together.
Okay.
And keep in mind that you have to have the okay from the buyer to send that to the seller.
Right.
Now, if we're asking for things to be done, they need proof. So they'll need that inspection. But if there's nothing wrong and we're not doing an inspection amendment, they don't need it. Some people send it right after they get it. I don't send it until I put together my amendment and I send them together. Unless if I find there's a lot of problems, then I'll send it right away. So they can mull it over a little bit. So they're
Kind
not
of a heads up.
Pardon?
Like a heads up, like,
yes.
So guess what? Amendments are coming.
Exactly. And sometimes they don't write an amendment at all. Everything's fine. Or if it's just a couple little things, which is really, really nice. So this amendment came from another agent, not a Keller Williams agent. We will be writing this a little different because we do have our verbiage in zip forms that puts it together very, very nicely. So on the top here, make sure that when you're doing your amendment, the amendment offer dated and accepted. Make sure those dates are correct with the address. And then this is not a notice of defects. Per the wall-to-wall home inspection services, seller at seller's expense agree to do the following. Like I said, we have verbiage that puts this top area of the amendment with this bottom area all on the top. It's just cleaner. So number 1, repair the roof flashings as recommended by a roof inspector. Fabricated aluminum pieces to be installed to close the gaps in channel water. Must ensure that water is draining off the roof properly in all areas. So we're addressing the problem, and she's actually putting an explanation of it also. Number 2, cap to be put on chimney to prevent debris from getting in. Number 3, electrical sockets all need to be grounded as necessary by a licensed electrician. Number 4, on the electrical panel in the basement, there's more than one neutral wire under the bolts, so she's explaining everything. Licensed electrician to correct the issue. Number 5, laundry sink faucet. 6, ceiling fan light on the main level to be working properly. Installing smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. Remove the debris from garage gutters. All the attached light fixtures to be working properly. I'm not even sure what that is. I didn't see it in the report. I would have to go back and re-review it. Replace night latches and windows that are missing them. The front glass screen door rubber strip to be glued back on. In addition, the sellers to provide a report stating that asbestos was properly removed from the premise. I am not sure what's going on with that. This wasn't my deal. And then all work and repairs outlined to be completed in a professional and workmanlike manner. So she is not requiring licensed people except for the electrician. Seller to provide lien waivers, permits, and invoices 7 days prior to closing. Upon agreement, the home inspection contingency is hereby removed. So what do you guys think?
Can the seller refuse? And if so, what happens?
Most definitely. So the reason why we want to get on this as soon as possible, keep in mind that we have a contingency date. So let's say our contingency date is the 15th of August. You want to get your inspection done as soon as possible. So when you have an accepted offer, make sure to tell your buyer as soon as possible we need to get the inspection. Go through it that day or the next day to get this amendment out, because this may go back and forth a couple of times. So going through this as a seller, I mean, most of this is pretty important, but let's say I called the buyer's agent and I said, what do you mean by attached light fixtures to be properly working? I have no idea what that is. And she might say, well, you know, the light in the garage wasn't working. So as the buyer, I went out there and the light bulb was loose. You know, I mean, they're all working, but is it necessary to put this in the offer to purchase? And that's where a little bit of conversation will take you a long way. But some of these things can be negotiated. So you can always counter it. And on the bottom of your amendment, you can accept it by signing, or you can reject it on the bottom. When you reject it, you will usually do another amendment back to the buyer. Does that make sense, Alex?
Yeah, I'm just thinking in a tight market, can the seller think, well, I've got 3 or 4 offers behind this. Why do I have to fiddle with this?
They could. They could. And that's where your negotiations come through with, it's really important to have a strong agent to help you negotiate through that. And, you know, as a seller's agent, there's nothing big on here that is a red flag or a lot of money. Electrical things need to be fixed. It's a safety item. It's a defect. If something goes wrong with electrical, the house is going to burn down. So we can't have that. Carbon monoxide and fire alarms, those are needed in a house. Gluing on the rubber strip on the front door, that'll take, what, a minute? So a lot of these things aren't unreasonable. If I were the seller's agent, I would say, you know, we have a few items. They're mostly maintenance items. Instead of keep in the back of your mind, if we do not accept this and this gets cambered for some odd reason, by the time this gets cambered, we're going to put ourselves back another week. Then we have to put it back on the market. So we're going to be behind 2 to 3 weeks. So another thing is when we have another buyer come through and they have an inspection, they'll probably come up with the same things. So they'll need to be fixed one way or the other.
Those are good responses.
Yeah.
Question for you. The way they started this report stating that the home inspection dated, you know, 5/26 or whatever that number is, 20th, you should never do that because you know, a lender could then ask for that home inspection.
True.
You should never be referenced. You list all the things that you want fixed, but it should never reference the home inspection, right?
Correct. Now, different agencies and different realtors do things different. So
a lender could ask for it, right? Because it's stated on.
They could. I have not had one ask for it yet, but I have heard of them asking for it. When I first started, and Janine told me to, I'm going to throw that out there, we always reference the inspection report. Always. Because you have to have proof, right? So now we do not, because of that lender, Annie, you are correct, because that lender may ask for it because it is referenced under a contract. Because keep in mind, these are all pieces and parts of that contract. I do not put it in anymore, but when I started, I definitely did because you were told to reference as such. So
what line are you talking about, Annie? Or
line number 6.
6 and 7.
Yep.
Okay.
This is not a notice of defects per the wall-to-wall home inspection services report dated. And then also on line 28, the attached home inspection is a part of this amendment. So because it says right in the contract, it's a part of the amendment, the lender really could ask for it.
So you're saying we should not put that on line 28?
Correct.
I would not.
Okay.
And we should also not, I'm sorry, and we should not also reference it in 6.
Correct.
So how should line 6 read then?
I am going to pull one up here really quick here for you.
So line 6 has verbiage in the drop-down menu in zip forms. That's like that's not ours. We have a different one that you would fill in. Do you want to show them how to do that?
Yes, this, you know what, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. My computer's locked up here.
I'm going to do that when I can do that.
Based on this one.
No, I'm going to do it right now. I'll get it.
Based on this amendment, before you go forward, just to, if, like on my last amendment, one of the things, and I forgot to do, is that last sentence of, if you do all of this, then the home inspection is hereby waived. That was not included in the last amendment that I did. And so we have a whole nother week before the inspection amendment. They could come back with more.
Yes.
So would you recommend me going back to the listing agent saying, oh, are you done with your requests? Can you do a notice back to me saying that the inspection?
Not a notice. It would be an amendment because you are releasing your home inspection contingency.
Okay, so it has to be an amendment signed by both parties. It can't be a notice just saying that. Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Okay, I am going to pull up Um, I'm going to pull up a form here. I'm going to show you exactly, back to list. Okay, I'm going to pull up zip forms. I'm going to show you guys exactly how to Okay, so everybody, are you guys familiar with zip forms? Most of you? So zip forms, keep in mind, zip forms is how you're going to create your documents. In zip forms, just a real quick overview, when you're into zip forms, all these little boxes on the bottom, when I hover over things, do they kind of shine and light up? Can you see my little cursor thing?
Yes.
Never quite sure what you guys can see, sorry. So on the bottom, it goes through, every box is one of your deals that you have created. I always, here's from me to you, I always keep a test in here in case if I have to have something funky signed, I just throw it into the test because you can use zip forms to sign documents. Whether it's for your kid, especially with everybody being online now for a kid's school, if you have to sign anything and send it back, it's really easy to do it in zip forms. Just saying. So coming back into the top, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into view forms. When I do view forms, on the right-hand side, it gives you your form library. Everything is alphabetical in case if you need any sort of document to pull into your deal. So what I'm going to do is start typing amendment. So this is an amendment to the offer to purchase. It's not an amendment to the listing contract. When you click on it, it pulls it right in for you. So your WP40 is your amendment to offer to purchase. When you're filling out your forms, we're going to start offer dated. I'm just going to make something up. Offer dated on the 2nd, accepted on the 3rd for the purchase of real estate at 123 Main Street, Heartland. Okay. We're not doing anything with the closing date. We're not doing anything with the purchase price at this point in time. So when you have your inspection, you have 3 different options. Your first option is to have the seller repair/replace what needs to be done. Your second option is to adjust the price. Now, when you're dealing with an estate, and a lot of times older people, they do not want to do any repairs. If it is in the listing being sold as is, you can come back and say, you know, being as this was an as is sale, we would like the purchase price adjusted. Before you go in to adjust the purchase price, talk to that listing agent. As Janine and I say all the time, you know, your communication is key here. Don't just throw in an amendment and email it to them and say, we want $10,000 off. It is not going to go well at all. So have that discussion and say, wow, there was a lot done. We need a whole new electrical panel. We need blah, blah, blah. We would rather just adjust the price $10,000. So make sure you have that conversation. Everybody with me so far?
Yes.
Yeah, kind of.
And so that you can do a price adjustment and or a credit in this?
Correct. So keep in mind that when you're doing a credit, it is given as a closing cost credit. Before you do a closing cost credit or a credit at closing, what you'll need to do is discuss with the lender how much his closing costs are. Because if you're doing a closing cost credit for $10,000 and their closing costs are only $2,500, you've lost $7,500 somewhere because they can only put those monies toward prepayables. And your prepayables are your closing costs. Some lenders will let you do it with appraisal. Some lenders let you do prepaid insurance, so homeowners insurance, and every lender is different. You really need to discuss it with the lender and know what's going on and see how much you can use for your prepayables / closing cost credits. Does that make sense?
Connie, can I just go on a tangent since we're almost on what I'm thinking of?
Yeah, throw it out.
Can you just go over net price? Because I saw on these offer to purchases that came in, they referred to net price. And I understand it's the price after. I read the language. It's after closing costs and everything. So do you have to know all of that? And then, like, how do you figure out what the net price is?
Okay, so that's a great question. First of all, your net price is what you receive at closing. So a lot of people have things that have to be paid for by the time when they sell their house. Okay, so a net price is your proceeds of your house. Everybody should have on their phone the Focus Title app. Does everybody have the Focus Title app?
Yes.
Okay, let me pull it up real quick here. I'm going to show it to you because it's really, really important to have. And if you don't have a lot of storage on your phone, I'm sorry, but you need a new phone because you can't live without this little bad boy. Focus Title app, where are you? I can't find it. I just rearranged my phone. Don't rearrange your phone. Oh, there we go. I put all my real estate stuff together. Okay, so right here is your Focus Title app. It's white with red on the bottom. Everybody see that? Screenshot it.
No. Can't see you.
Okay, so it's white on the top, and then in the white it says Focus Title, and on the bottom it says 1. So you want the agent version. When you're in the agent version, you can actually, Laura, go in here and put in the purchase price of the home, and it will give you all of the monies that are due at closing. So you have your title insurance, you have your, let's see here. So when you come in, I know this is kind of hard, but going in with your app, this is why I like face-to-face teaching much better. On the bottom, there's tabs for buyer and seller. When you touch the seller's tab, you'll get the sales price, the broker fee, which you can adjust, your property taxes, you can put in the interest rate of their loan that they have, and the closing date. When you hit compute, it gives you all of the prorated taxes, closing costs, and your net at close. Does that help, Laura? Oh, you're muted, I think.
So do you get all that information? Where do you get all that information?
From the app.
Oh.
So is that tied to the address?
What it is tied to is your purchase price. So what you're going to do is put in here the purchase price of the home, or the sale price, excuse me. Then you'll put in the taxes, and it will give you your closing costs because it's all figured out on a percentage. So on the bottom, you can do detailed closing costs. So when you close your house, they have to pay for a homeowner's policy, or excuse me, a title policy. There's closing fees. They have to get special assessments. So there's a fee to get those letters, gap coverage. Then there's a state transfer tax, and then your broker's fees. So your commissions are taken off of that. It will give you the net proceeds of that house. Now, if the seller is providing a home warranty, then you'll take off that $500-ish for that home warranty to give you their final price. Does that help? Go on that. Do you have the Focus? Did you find it?
I do have it. I feel like some of this stuff, I'm just going to only learn it when I'm actually physically doing it.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Okay.
There's a lot of things, and as adult learners, we need to do things instead of just read about it. It's just the way our brains work. Some of ours work less than others, but as the adult learner, the more you physically do things, the more it picks up. So that's why we're really suggesting that once a week, even if you don't have a deal going on, once a week, write an offer. Write an offer, do all the amendments, and write a listing contract every week just to get yourself familiar with it. Okay? So moving on, I'm going to go back to this amendment.
A question. So copies of all these amendments should go to the lender, right? Because it's possible that a closing cost adjustment could effectively change the purchase price in their underwriting.
Definitely, definitely. All of your amendments and anything contractual needs to go to the lender. Another thing is, prior to closing, all of your receipts and lien waivers need to go to the lender and to title, because they need copies of everything for the file. Great add-on, Alex. So coming into your amendment to offer to purchase, when you click on this main body, I'm going to go back again. See all these lines in here? When you click on it, it opens up a field so you can type in what you need. This little pencil gives you all this fabulous verbiage on this little scroll. So click on the scroll. Here's your rate on test amendment. So this is my offer to purchase. There's one for your notice and amendment to the buyer agency agreement. So these are your three categories. So we are in our offer to purchase, then the clause title, rate on test amendment, inspection amendment. There's finance and contingency satisfaction. So prior to close, when you get finance and contingency met, you need to have them sign that before you send that over to the seller. Waiving the home warranty, closing location, escalation clause. People are asking about escalation clause because we're so busy. Right down here is your escalation clause. This is all your verbiage that you need. So when you click on inspection amendment, here's your verbiage. The following shall be completed at the expense of the seller with all applicable lien waivers, invoices, and permits provided no later than 10 days prior to closing. Depending on how tight of a timeline we're in, we can change that. Upon acceptance by all parties, the inspection contingency is hereby waived. Okay, so here's your verbiage. Make it easy on yourself, you guys. Use everything that's pre-done. So we will put in insert, and it looks really nice and pretty. When you're doing your amendments, keep them clean. Keep them clean. When I'm working with new agents, I've had people redo things like 4 or 5 or 10 times. Keep it clean. When you've got stuff thrown all over the place, A, it's hard to read. B, it's really confusing. And C, it looks like a lot of stuff that might not be a lot of stuff. So as an example, I'm just going to pop in here. 1 period. I like to do spaces because it looks clean. Seller to hire, licensed electrician to replace GFCI outlets, to replace 2 GFCI outlets in kitchen, comma, upstairs bathroom and master bathroom. So what I did is I hit up the electrician in 1 line with 2, 3, 4 outlets. So instead of putting 4 different lines in here, it keeps it clean. It's all by the electrician. Also to fix double tap
panel.
Fuse, not fuse, what are they called? Fix double tap in electrical panel. Okay. 3, seller to hire licensed electrician to repair Slap, sink, drain. What else can we have a plumber do? I'm making this up as we go along. Whoops, and I can't type.
Electrician?
Oops, sorry, plumber. I'm glad somebody's paying attention here. REP. Wow. In utility room. And leaking faucet in kitchen. Cellar to clean, downspouts, and gutters. Okay, so just really try and keep things clean and simple. So when I'm the listing agent, when I get this, it doesn't look like a 4-page deal is blowing up kind of a thing. Definitely take and list everything specifically, but keep it clean. Okay, coming down to the bottom, make sure you give them a date to return this amendment by, who it's drafted by, and then your buyer's names. Does that help you guys out a little bit?
How many days do you typically give for them to respond?
Good question. Depends on the extent of work. I like to give 2 days, but keep in mind, depending on that contingency date, that's why we want to start this really, really early. If you have 10 days for an inspection and you send this over on day 9, we don't have any time to negotiate. And then they only get 1 day. And what happens if they had to see if they needed a new furnace? Can they afford a new furnace before they sell it? It's not really fair. So make sure that you're working on your contingencies really early. And if there's anybody that they need to call in, a specialist to look at, a basement wall, I mean, that could be upwards of $30,000, depending on what needs to be done. I mean, that's super, super high. But, you know, maybe they don't want to sell the house at that point in time. Or they don't have that extra monies to fix that prior to selling. Or maybe we need to get a quote and the buyer and the seller are going to split that cost. So those are all different options. Great questions.
Connie, can I ask a question? I shadowed an offer to purchase on Sunday and there were 5 offers and there were 2 escalations. And some of them were really smart in that they already put in a date for the inspection to occur the following week should their offer get accepted because it's so crazy. So is it under in this market condition? Is there a place to put that in there? Should you need something looked at further? Would it be clean and organized if you had already made an appointment? Should this amendment get approved?
That is amazing. I've never heard of anybody do that.
Really?
Yeah. So what you would do
two of them had it.
Wow. I've never heard of that.
So it's like they booked their inspection before they got the house.
Yep. Because then the time frame, it was like one had it on a Tuesday and the other one had it on a Thursday. And those 2 days would make a difference in the closing.
Yes, because my inspector couldn't get in for 10 days. He's booked. And I use him all the time, and I know he would squeeze me in. But he said, you know, what is your deadline? And I said, I have 15 days. He says, gosh, I just can't get there for 10. So I like that a lot. Holy cow. So
is it presumptuous to do that at this point, or is that wise to say, like, we want to?
You know, if you have that inspector that you can book and put that down there, because inspectors and appraisers are so booked. It's absolutely crazy. What you'll do is on the bottom, pardon?
Sorry, wouldn't it be better, you know, if you call the listing agent and find out what's important to the sellers. And
Yeah.
if time is important to sellers, then I could see, because I've never heard of that either, but then I could see showing, okay, I can get an inspector tomorrow and we can shorten the inspection period so that you can get out of the house in time. If time's not an important thing, then I don't see any, I don't see any reason to do it necessarily. Do you?
Yeah.
Well, keep in mind that if there are multiple offers on this property, and I have somebody who can guarantee me an inspection in 5 days, if this falls through, heaven forbid, if this falls through, I can get this back on the market on day 6 or 7, versus if we're 15 days, like we were talking with Alex before, if we're 15 days out, by the time you get that notice of defects and your record, we're into 3 weeks versus 1 week because of that time frame. But I definitely, yeah, I see your point, Annie, but just thinking about the time frame, if something should happen, but you know, once you find an inspection, you have to disclose it anyways. Now you know about these problems, they're gonna have to be fixed sooner or later, or you have to disclose it and the future owner will have to take that under their own belt. Okay, so going back to the offer to purchase, on the very bottom, there is additional provisions. And additional provisions, you can put the verbiage of, with acceptance of this offer, buyer has already scheduled an inspection to be done on August 15th, 2020 at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, and then definitely keeping that verbiage open with the listing agent, which is super, super important. I have won, I can't even tell you guys how many deals I've won, earned, because I've had great communication with the listing agent. And there are so many. I actually just got one on, I don't even know what day it is, Tuesday? On Tuesday. He had 3 offers coming in, and he was walking, the things we do. He was walking the seller's dogs when I was showing it. And my buyers absolutely loved it. I called him and I said, hey, when are you going to be back with the dogs? And he says, actually, I'm 2 blocks away. I said, you know, my buyers love the house. I said, they want to write on it. I'm going to wait for you until you get back. Do you know, I waited for him until he got back. I got all the details face to face, what I wanted, what I needed. We made a relationship right there. We shook hands, and you know what? Our conversation has been absolutely amazing. No, it's only been 2 days, but everything has moved along. We're probably a week ahead because we have a great relationship. Any other questions on this amendment? Amendment and offer to purchase. Okay. Let me get back in here.
I have a question.
Yes.
So what do you do if the seller doesn't sign?
If the seller does not sign the amendment, then you have to give them a notice of defects.
Yeah. Because that's what I didn't do. They didn't sign anything because they wanted more quotes. I sent them our quotes that we got based on the home inspection. It wasn't good enough. They couldn't get their contractors in enough. I still don't know if any work has been done, and they've never signed anything, but they had me continue to send more amendments extending the timeline. So I've never sent the notice of defects.
Okay, so are you, because of your extensions on your amendments, are you still within the time frame of your inspection contingency?
No.
So what did you put on your amendments?
Extending the right to cure timeline from until whatever, and then I attached what the previous amendments were whenever I send it over.
Talk to Kimmy about that one. That's a great area that I am unfamiliar with. Pardon?
Okay. I text Andy seeing if he could walk through it with me since he was involved already, but okay, now I know for the future, but man.
Yeah, so when you're filing a notice of defects, you're not killing the deal. You are telling that seller, these are defects. We have documentation on our inspection report. These are defects. In your offer to purchase, there's a whole page referring to your defects of the property that the buyer can walk if the seller does not fix any defects.
Now, would that be just for what we requested to be repaired or all of the defects?
I used it all. I make it look really bad.
I don't know if I can fit all of those. It's a 75-page inspection report.
Oh, it's one of those, huh?
1908, yeah.
Yes. So what you'll do is you'll have to do a couple of pages of the amendment.
Okay.
And you have to list everything.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yep. Sorry about that. But you know what? Everything, I still learn all the time. Like by putting that inspection down, Laura, that's kind of brilliant, especially if you're up against, I was up against 11 offers this weekend and I didn't get it. 20,000 over asking on a 250. My only guess is that they came in cash, no appraisal, no inspection. And my buyers aren't that comfortable that they would do that. So
it's so crazy. And you're so right about the communication with the agent, because it was really important that the seller was able to rent back. And one offer didn't even offer that because they never reached out to find out that that was necessary.
Yep. Well, and Janine and I have both talked that, you know, I've had mystery offers come in my email that I didn't even know were coming in. Now, mind you, when I'm done, I really try and be done, whether it's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. So unless if I know something is coming in or somebody texts me, I don't check my email after a certain point in time, depending on what's going on. So if I have a live listing that's hot, or if I know that I just had a showing on a property, I'm really tuned in. But you know what? We have to be fair. And as realtors, we really need a life. It's kind of hard some days. But when you turn things off, it's really, really fair to turn it off. It is. So if somebody throws you a mystery offer through your email and A, doesn't contact you and B, doesn't text you, I never got it. I didn't get it until 7 o'clock the next morning when I look at my email. Send me a text and I look right away. I truly, truly do. But also, to be fair, you know, sometimes we like to go out for dinner and have a couple of cocktails, and the last thing we want to be doing at that point in time is negotiating a contract. And everybody's allowed to go out and have dinner and a couple of cocktails. So just be fair. And we do have a lot of people in this industry who are not, unfortunately. But yeah, communicate, communicate, communicate. It makes your life so much easier. And even if there's some bad things, I cringe, but you still have to make that phone call and say, you know, we have all these things that are wrong, and I understand that your seller does not want to sign this amendment, but you know, we need to move forward for the contract because this isn't my problem. This is the contractual law that we're in, and we have to follow those dates and deadlines. Okay. Whew, we kind of covered a lot today. How's everybody feeling?
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, you know what? There's a lot, but the more you go through it, the more you will learn. And like I said, I still learn every day on things. I didn't even look at this chat. Sorry, I'm going to take a quick peek. The name of the inspector that does the old homes is Tom Karwoski. He's an old hippie. I've known him for years. You know, been divorced 3 times, and he'll tell you about it. He's got the same jokes and the same stories, but he knows old houses really, really well. I will actually put his information in. I'm multitasking here.
Can you post it to Launch Group?
I am not in on that.
Oh, that's weird. All right.
You know, I'm out in Lake Country.
Okay.
K-R-W-O-S-K-I. Old House Tom Karwoski inspection.
I'll post it.
414-406-1538. I put it in the chat here. Let's see. Yeah, if you guys can just send me a message, or my cell number is 414. If anybody wants, I'll put it down here. Just send me a text. And we'll get you guys in on these inspections. Another one, Hartford Shadow. Why is the inspector sitting down in the photo? I have no idea. That's awesome. Okay, I think we got all that covered. Any other questions about home inspections, amendments?
I have a quick question, Connie. And this probably sounds really stupid, but I'm actually doing an inspection tomorrow morning for another agent. Haven't shadowed yet on an inspection, just have the experience of my own house.
Yes.
How much do you follow the inspector around? I'm not even really sure exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
Excellent question.
Okay, because I don't want to bug anybody.
You will learn so much on home inspections about houses. So what you want to do is the inspectors usually get there half an hour early. They usually like to do the exterior first. So they'll go around the outside. I always go a little bit early and introduce myself, especially if it's an inspector that I don't know. The ones that I know, we've worked together for a long time, so it's fine. I also, if it's my buyers, I'll give them the 411 on the buyers. They're new home buyers. They don't know anything about a house. I bet they don't even know the difference between the furnace and the hot water heater. You know, so give them a little bit of a rundown on things. Or it's a flipper, he might not show up. We might be done in an hour here, you know, just to give them the heads up. The inspector will then usually ask, are there any concerns? And you can say, you know, I noticed a crack in the basement. I don't know if the buyers did, but I noticed a crack in the basement. Or, you know, they're really easygoing or they're neurotic. Let that inspector know what's going on if you know them. If you don't, because it isn't your client, Heidi, just say, you know, I'm a new agent. I'm helping out an agent in the office. I'm helping out Julie Smith. And do you mind if I ask some questions as we go around? They will 99% of the time say yes. Follow around, and if there's anything you notice, ask a question.
Okay.
Be open. Yeah, be open, be honest. Keep in mind that the buyer is paying them. It is their time. So don't corner them for an hour or anything. Usually what they'll do is they'll give you a card. And they'll say, call me if you have any questions or if you need anything, or ask for a card. And then even call them after the fact, especially if the buyers are a little nervous Nelly or if they're really concerned with certain things. Call them after the fact. Don't raise any red flags.
Okay.
Yep, great question.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. How are we doing? Good. Okay, what I am going to do is I am going to get into the launch site that you guys had mentioned on your Facebook page for North Shore. I am also going to go on our Facebook page for our mentors, mentees out here. And I am going to put up an inspection report. And what I would like you guys to do is do an amendment for that before next week. So I will upload an inspection report. It's going to be laid out a little bit different than this one, but it's really, really easy to read. Jeff Mosier from Advantage Home Inspections. That's my #1 guy. So I will upload that for you as soon as we get off here. Write that amendment. If you have any questions, you guys are on that Facebook page. Bounce some questions back and forth. Really, really work this to your advantage.
Should we email that amendment to you then?
Nope, we're going to go over it next week.
Okay.
So, yep, we're going to go over it next week. We're really going to concentrate on this inspections and the amendments just because it's important. Now, heads up, next week, I will be in the office here out in Lake Country. If you guys want to take a ride, you are more than welcome. Focus title is Supplying Breakfast. I'm all about breakfast. You are more than welcome to come out to Lake Country. And we're going to try and start bringing people into the office a little bit. We will practice social distancing. You guys can wear your masks. And if you haven't been out to Lake Country, this is a great, great time to come out and see. Keep in mind also, your key fobs do work out here. If you're in the area and you need to stop in to meet a client in our conference rooms, you're more than welcome. You can use the copiers. You can scan things in. You know, you can do all of those things at any office. I'm not sure if you guys knew that. Yes, no? Okay, so we have a New Berlin office. We have Lake Country. We have Whitefish Bay, and we also have the Germantown office.
And Tosa.
And Tosa. Tosa does not have their key fob on yet. I tried stopping
They-
the video.
Oh, seriously? Oh, they were installing it supposedly a couple weeks ago. Something
Okay.
went wrong.
Well, you know what? This was a couple of weeks ago. They may have it.
Okay.
I am maybe misinformed, but I stopped by for a quick copy because I have a listing in Tosa. I'm like,
Darn it.
and nobody was there. So keep that in mind, but 9 o'clock next week out at Lake Country, we will have breakfast and we'll go over this amendment. And if I get everybody a little bit more face-to-face on your computers, maybe we can move you guys around the systems a little bit better. I know everybody likes the Zoom. I need to see people. Come on, guys.
Is there a place that lists all the addresses of these offices?
I'm sure there is.
Sounds
Our
simple,
address is
but-
200 East Capitol. And Heartland.
I just looked on my KW. I didn't see anything.
And when I thought Julia sent out a list of all the different offices and agents, but I could be wrong.
Did she?
I thought so.
You know what? We are going to, you know what? That is a great idea.
Let me check my email.
We're gonna get that out.
It also pops up when you type it in your Google Maps. So, I mean, it's not super hard to find.
Good deal.
Okay.
For the good and the cause.
Thanks,
I see
Connie.
Welcome. Laura, did you have something? Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying thank you for today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you very much. You guys have a great day. I will upload that inspection report, and then if you guys can do an amendment, that would be fabulous. If you want to come out to Heartland next week, I'm going to try and get a little bit of a head count so we have enough food, but I got Focus to pay for it, so that's always good. So we've got a great breakfast coffee shop caterer in Pewaukee here. They're going to pick up some quiches and coffee. So.
And what day was that, Connie?
Pardon?
What day was that?
That is next Thursday at this time.
Perfect.
Same time, same date, different place. And like I said, if you guys want to come out and see our office, it's absolutely fabulous.
Perfect.
If you want to carpool, give her. Have a great day. Talk to you all later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Connie.